thinking about it.
And we're live.
There's the red dot. We are live. We are live. I've been looking forward to this chat with you boys all week, actually. It's definitely one of the highlights of the week is jumping on, talking live. We don't know where the conversation is going to go. We don't know what questions are going to be asked of us. And there's been some strange ones, and we embrace those. But we've got a lot to talk about as well. So I'll start with you, Will. How are you? How's your week been? And how's life?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. We've been very busy actually. The last couple of weeks, I'm sure we've thrown all over the internet, as you guys have seen, have been really busy for us. So we've pretty much sold most of what we've got. It's been really good. Been really good actually. So yeah, we need more houses.
Good stuff. Good. Love that. We're going to cover quite a few different things as well, Neil. We're going to cover talk a little bit about contracts. We're going to talk about instant marketing as well, on that basis of what Will's talking about. So how can you get ahead of the other buyers and the other tenants in the way that we market properties? So we've got some tips and advice for buyers there, which we're looking forward to. We're going to talk about buyer and tenant frenzy because market's gone bananas, hasn't it, really? And then we're also going to talk about the Rightmove house price index as well, and some interesting statistics and data from our blog page. So, Neil, how is life over in Shinfield, L. Early and Winnish?
L. Early, that's a new one. I like it. Yeah, it's all good. We're still very much active, still very busy in the local area. Dan and I have just thrown out another nice little competition. We went down to Lower Early, went down to Asda. So we've got a little competition on our page running at the moment. So yeah, still very active. But same as Will, everything's selling. I had a meeting earlier with Dan just about a few bits and pieces, and same situation. Houses are still selling so quickly. So it's not as busy. I'd say it's not as busy as we were coming up to the June craziness, but it's still very active. It's still very, like you said, the frenzy is there. As soon as a property goes on the market, that's it. It's all systems go. But again, we could do with more properties because we're not as busy as we were necessarily because of the listing side of it. So. Yeah,
I definitely think, and we can get onto the data, but you can definitely see across pretty much every area in the UK that there is less properties coming to the market than what there was, let's say, before the stamp duty rush. You know, let's talk January, November, around those sort of peak months of listings. There's definitely less coming on.
It's that time of year. A few people are on holiday. Fair play to them. I'm jealous, but it's just that sort of coming out of summertime. So, dare I say it, Christmas is around the corner.
Oh dear.
It's funny actually. I mentioned that as well, Neil, the other day to a client, because you're now around that time period where if you're looking to get moved before Christmas, you kind of need to be on the market now, get it under offer, get the legwork done. If you're a leasehold, you're really going to be fighting the clock now after management packs and things come back after you sell. But we are in that window of, if you want to get moved before Christmas, kind of need to get on and get cracking with it now, because solicitors are still very busy and still don't want to be negative, but still quite slow in terms of how they're acting. So definitely some food for thought there. So talking quickly on contracts, just something that I wanted to mention because it got brought up with someone the other day that I was talking to, and there's a couple of different types of agency contracts out there. So it's a bit of advice to the public. If you're thinking of moving in the next couple of years, just bear these in mind. All estate agents have different types of contracts. Goes against the whole, all agents are the same, I know, but you've got the multi-agency contract, which everyone kind of knows. It just means you've got a collect amount of estate agents in that agreement. Whoever sells it gets the fee. Everyone's happy. Then the two that are kind of split, that kind of go under the radar a little bit, is the sole agency agreement and the sole selling rights agreement. I've always been a big fan of the sole agency agreement because I think it's ethically correct. And the difference between the two means sole selling rights. If you're in that agreement with that client, with that estate agent, anyone buys that property, be it mum, uncle, neighbour, anyone you've known your whole life, then that estate agent is entitled to a fee, which for me, I don't think is ethically correct. If you're on a sole agency agreement, which our agency agreement is, then it means if we do the job, we get paid. And it's as simple as that. If another estate agent was to sell it within our sole agency agreement, we would still be paid because it's a sole agency, sold to us as the agent spending the money, the time and the effort. But Will, just from your perspective on those, what's your thoughts on it? And do you often get asked by the question by the public, or is it something that people are not really too sure of, do you think?
I think it's something that people need to be more aware of, because if you're not careful, you can kind of get tied in. And let's face it, sometimes these things do happen, you know, a couple of months down the line, 3 months down the line, somebody's circumstances change, and actually turns out somebody in your family might want to buy it. And obviously you're not best pleased then when you've got perhaps the agent then knocking on the door saying, well, look, we're in this agreement where we are still entitled to a fee. I think it comes down to what's ethically right. But I think some people just assume that, well, I'm not sure they're sort of reading into it too much, but it's definitely something that needs to be spoken about like this, because it can be an eye-opener when, as you say, you start looking into the nitty-gritty of it. But it's about being fair, basically.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And from your point of view, Neil, have you had any circumstances over the last sort of 10 years where maybe this has propped up as an issue, or anything to add on that as well?
Do you know what? I've had your typical people that you're taking to the market, or you've had a valuation and they've just got their sort of 5 questions written down. Yeah. So they've Googled what to ask an estate agent. And that's the only time that I've ever come across it. But I'd agree with Will. It is something that needs to be spoken about. I think contracts in general need to be a little bit more looked at, and no disrespect to sellers, but a lot of people will just rush into a contract, and not every agent sits and goes through it. I know we definitely do. We'll explain each bit and sit and question them on it so that they know what's going on. But I think in general, contracts should be discussed more, and sellers should know a lot more about them and be able to go into granular detail if they want. But yeah, the sole selling rights and sole agency rights, I've very rarely had it pop up. It's never really been a big issue for me. It's never bitten me in the butt, so to speak. But there's every opportunity, isn't there?
Yeah, it's just people knowing the difference and knowing what they feel comfortable with, I think, isn't it, is the key thing. A couple of people saying hello to us there, which is much appreciated. And like I say, if you got a question, drop it in. We'll answer it live. Any question. We're not scared.
Oh dear.
Let's talk about instant marketing. I know it's something you're passionate about, Will. It's something that you're experiencing over the last couple of weeks, which has really worked well for you. And Neil, I know you, as well as everyone in the Avocado brand, has really pushed the Beat the Portals campaign as much as we can. But Will, talk us through circumstances on the last couple of sales. How has it gone? And how have those buyers been satisfied in a way that people not following your Facebook page haven't had the opportunity to be?
Yeah, so effectively, it's always something we liked, and I know Dan and Neil, you guys are really good at that and get a lot of success on that. But yeah, we effectively listed something in Sandhurst on Branksome Hill Road, and effectively we did the Beat the Portals, and actually we put a bit of a sort of spread on it as well. But ultimately, somebody got in touch with us straight away. We obviously got back to them. They viewed it later that afternoon. They said it was perfect, exactly what they're looking for. Obviously they didn't have much to go with though, you know, obviously there's no pictures and things like that. They came around in the afternoon, subsequently offered the full asking price. Now that was also an asking price where effectively the seller had said to us, look, I know, you know, we think we should put it on for X, but actually I'd like to test it, you know, slightly higher. I said, absolutely, you know, we'll get you if we can. And we did. So it was a great result. Similarly, we've just launched something else, a 3-bed. Again, viewings that evening, offers coming in that evening. We've actually gone bonkers on it. So, but yeah, it's been a really good way for people to get an insight to it. And it's something that's genuinely different. That's the other thing. It is genuinely different. It's not, oh, I've got a big list of 40 buyers, which I'll say I call, which I won't actually call. It's actually, wow, this is real. People can see this. It's easy to get in touch with us. So yeah, it's really, really good. Worked well for us.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people in agency often talk, you know, we've been going for 20 years. We've got 4,000 or 40,000 email addresses. doesn't really mean anything. But from your point of view, Neil, what is the process that you follow with the Beat the Portals? Will mentioned we put a spread on it. Let's talk in detail about what that means, that we're putting money behind a campaign effectively. But how do you do your Beat the Portals, just so that people can understand it from the outside world? Because clearly, as Will is highlighting, it works for the clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that, I think it works for both sides. It works for the buyers and the clients. So it's really good bit of ammunition for us to have. But ultimately, if someone signs up with us there and then, they want to work with us, they want us to market their property, we can literally stand out the front of their house on that moment and start advertising it. And obviously, a lot of us have hundreds of followers, and that's people that are sitting there waiting to see the next property that's coming up. And we've had it, just to give you an example, we've had a few over the time that we've been doing it, where while I'm just finishing the live, my phone will ring. And it'll be someone going, I've just watched you Beat the Portals. When can I view it? That's what we're looking for. And again, same situation as Will said. We had one the other day where, interestingly, Dan was actually doing the live in Shinfield, and the lady called my phone. I knew about the house because Dan and I had discussed it, but she called my phone to talk about it. Subsequently, went down, buying cash, asking price offer. And again, same situation, we were pushing the price a little bit. So we know that we're doing right by the client at the same time, but the buyer is also really happy because they're beating the rush. They're beating it going to the market. And that's the exciting part, because they know what they're after. And like Will said, they don't see any photos, they don't see the floor plan, they just know what it is and where it is. And then they trust us with our brief description that it's something that they'd enjoy or at least want to look at. But in terms of the detail, obviously you touched on the paying for it. So we have it as a paid advertisement running through the back of social media. And that's the other interesting thing. The lady that bought the house the other day in Shinfield, we know quite a lot of our followers now, because they'll often interact with things, which is quite nice. Or we know if they've liked something or they're following our page. But this lady in particular had seen it as an advert. So she'd watched the paid advert running in the social media and then contacted us. So that campaign worked for our clients, sell them quickly.
It's gold, isn't it, really? I think it's people talk about evolving the industry, and the fact that estate agency has been the same for 20 odd years. You know, people in agency, they wear navy suits, they push the phones hard, they put it on Rightmove with some photos, draw a floor plan, maybe stitch some photos together and put some music on it if you're lucky. And that's kind of the marketing level of the industry. This is completely different, because it's very much based on people looking at their phone, and the average kind of user time is over 3.5 hours on a mobile phone these days, screen time that is. So it's working really well. Well, from your point of view, you mentioned about kind of the ads and the audiences. I know we were talking earlier actually, and I just thought I'd bring it up. You've got an audience set for buyers looking for apartments in and around the Crowthorne area, which you put paid campaigns to. And I think you said there was about 53,000 contacts on there. Is that right?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it is something like that. But again, it's gold. I mean, we've sold a few flats actually, but being able to put that out there to people that have been specifically looking for, flats, first time buyers, it's something that we've, never done before. And it's so powerful. And I think going back to what we were saying a minute ago, even with the Beat the Portals and things like that, it's like a trust element. People have almost feel like they know us. Funny story. We were actually filming on, down in Sandhurst the other day, and a couple of people sort of stopped us and went, "Oh, I've seen you guys all over Facebook and things like that." And it's that element of trust, like you say. We're not in the suits, we're not scary people. We're not going to sell you a mortgage lead there and then. It's it's completely different. So yeah, it's been really good.
And like Neil says, direct contact to mobiles, WhatsApp communication. You haven't got to go through a call center or redirect through a 1-2-3 option. It's straight to people and property.
What was the one that I sent you a picture of the other day? I think it was our Beat the Portals that we had then shared to our story. So again, this just more bows to what we're doing. but it was a beat the portals that we'd shared to Instagram and then shared it to the story and then added a call to action with the ask us a question box. We always put that on our story. So if someone's got a question about that beat the portals, they can question it then. I was talking to a lady at about 11:30 at night on my mobile, still watching telly, and I arranged a viewing for her via Instagram through watching our story.
So good. So good.
Insane.
Social media. They say it doesn't work.
Apparently,
I beg to differ.
Yeah.
I beg to differ. Let's get back to value. Let's get back to adding some value. There's a lot of buyers out there. There's a lot of sellers out there that have sold that can't find, or there's a lot of people that are not sold at the moment. And they're thinking, I'm not going to go on the market because I can't see anything I like, or it just goes. So they're not proactively looking for alerts, but every time they look on Rightmove, they don't find anything. What advice would you give them, Will? They're looking, let's say they want to buy a nice 3-bedroom semi in Crowthorne. Nothing on the market. They've got a nice wide budget of 250 grand spread, maybe from 475 up to 625, something like that. And they can't find what they're looking for. They've got a nice 2-bed that they're going to sell. What advice would you give to them at the moment? Because it is an absolute bum fight out there for the right types of properties. So what would you say to them if they're in that situation?
It's the classic, it's the chicken and egg situation, isn't it? Of where do you start? Because so many times people say, I'll only put mine on when I find the right thing. But I think we all know at the moment that's just not happening, because ultimately everybody's in a position, or it seems like everybody's in a position where they're ready to buy. You've got to start somewhere though. So it's the other thing. You've got to have a sense or an idea of what you're going to get for your money, the space. So, we are ultimately letting people still view, if they're not on the market and they said to us, because that's the other thing we get, spoke to so-and-so, they're not even letting us come through the door. They won't even sort of speak to us or even register our details properly. And I just think that's a little harsh, because, as I say, you've got to start somewhere. I guess ultimately it comes down to, having contacts, knowing people in the area. If there's roads that you like in particular, houses that you like in particular, there's ways and means. Social media, again, is such a powerful tool, because people get in touch and say, look, hey, might not be ready yet, but when we are, we'll definitely get in touch with you guys. We've had that so much already. So there's ways of building up contacts. But I think, again, with that personal approach, with that experience that comes with Avocado, it's about sort of hand-holding people through that process, rather than you're not ready, I will leave you there to just sort of fester.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I don't know if you agree, Neil, but there's different types. Will touched on knowing what you're after and knowing what you're looking for. And I think over the sort of 20 odd years I've done it, I've felt if a buyer calls me and they're looking in a 15-mile radius of Heathrow, and they're looking between 450 and 600 for a 3 or 4 bed, they might be proceedable, but are they really as hot for that 3-bed semi in Crowthorne as someone who lives in Sandhurst that's got a 2-bed that they're thinking of selling? They've got a little bit of work left to do in the kitchen. They're looking for exactly that property. They want to be a 1/4 of a mile radius of the Crowthorne High Street, and they want to be close to Edgeborough, for example. You've got to weigh up who's the hottest buyer there. Now, in theory, most agents would go proceedable buyers only. But when we look at those two case studies, what would be your advice, Neil, in that scenario?
It's interesting. We were actually discussing this on our page yesterday, me, Dan, and Dom. But there is a pecking order, unfortunately, like everything. There's a pecking order to how hot you are, per se, as a buyer. But ultimately, someone that is local, knows the area, knows what they're after, they're going to be able to make a decision with their heart and their head pretty quickly, as opposed to someone that's just sort of keeping an eye on the market, like you said, in a 15-mile radius. But yeah, like Will touched on, you've got to start somewhere. And if it's someone that knows what they're after and sees a property that they like, and they're motivated to get theirs sold pretty quickly, we've had loads of them. Dan and I have had loads where they've come to us. We've shown them a house that they like. Lo and behold, we've got theirs sold really quickly, and they've managed to buy the house that they fell in love with.
Yeah, I think off-market transactions are key. I would say, much like Will said, it's a bit different. It's a bit more personal. I know it sounds like a plug, but it's not. If you've got a property locally to sell, you're looking locally, get your local Avocado partner booked in, spend an hour with them, 15 minutes talking about your house and 45 minutes talking about why you want to move and what you want to move to and the reason behind it. Once that time's ingrained with one of us, we'll actively go out there and start trying to homing missile find you that property. And we do that all the time with people, where we can knit it together without it hitting the portals. And it has to be a pecking order. And for us, obviously, our clients come first. And that's one thing that we'll always stick by, because it's the fair way to do it. And it's the pecking order that we sit in. One of the other little tips that I give people is subscribe to our YouTube channel, because much like you found out recently, Neil, with your client over in Reading, YouTube, the Avocado Property YouTube channel is the first place that any property video will go, because we have to upload it to YouTube before we can put it on Rightmove. So if anyone's interested, make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel for Avocado Property, because you'll see all the property videos hit there before anywhere else. And I always press premiere as well, so you didn't even get a 30-second countdown while you wait.
They normally go on at about midnight when we finish doing our editing.
Get a little midnight alert. Love that. Now there is a buyer in a tenant frenzy out there. The Rightmove house price index there's a lot of detail that goes into this, and I like it for the fact that there's a Zoopla one, there's a Rightmove one. They come at different times in the month. The Rightmove one came out at the start of the week. Now it's not telling us in general anything we don't know as agents, but it is telling us some data and some facts and figures that we should share with the public. And one of the things that I was a little bit gobsmacked by, and I'm going to use this banner because Neil told me about this new banner, I'd say is a wow moment for me. I'll leave that up while I talk about it. But in the first 6 months of the year, we've seen a 6.7% increase nationally in house prices. Now that means just over 21,000 per property. I don't think I've seen a 21k increase in half a year, as far as I can remember. I don't know if you guys can.
Nope.
No, not necessarily. No. I mean, we've still found a massive shortage of property. You know, particularly the main body of the stamp duty is kind of finished. You know, there's as I said earlier, there's a property that we've taken on, and there's literally been about 25 inquiries, and it was put on at a price where perhaps others kind of went, oh, it might be top end of that market. It clearly isn't. It clearly isn't. So there's a massive demand.
And I think this is where the prices are climbing. And the question is, will it ever stop? Because, Neil, we've got the pendulum shift, and the house price index report highlighted in the first half of 2021, there was 140 more sales being agreed than 2019. So 140,000 more sales agreed at the first 6 months of this year compared to 2019. We're taking 2020 out because of COVID, and 85,000 fewer new listings in the same time bracket in 2019. So we're seeing this, and I don't know what your thoughts are or what you were chatting about last night with Dom on prices. Do you think it's going to carry on like this? Is there going to be a stop? Is there going to be a mad surge of new properties hitting the internet at any point? What's going to happen?
It's one of those, can you predict the market? If you could predict the market, you'd be very bloody rich, but you can't. You just got to work with the market that we're in. And I think, in my opinion, and I've said it for a little while, I think the market will continue to slowly creep up in the way that it is, because the interest rates are ridiculous. What was it? Halifax just launched one at 0.85 or something like that, which is just a crazy deal. So we were touching on it yesterday. It's free money, which is absolutely bonkers. Again, that's so low, which is meaning that the buyer activity is there. People want to buy houses, but it's that supply and demand side of it where kind of there's not enough houses to go around. So people are willing to pay a little bit more, and the prices are therefore being pushed up again a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. But where does that stop? Like you said, only once the interest rates drop or start to go back up. Sorry. So I think once interest rates start to go back up, they'll start to plateau and sort of level out again. But I think for now, enjoy it while we can.
Yeah.
I don't see signs of the interest rates or the Bank of England base rate being put up anytime soon. I think obviously we want to see the economy flourishing and flowing, and I think the Conservatives have definitely been advocates of seeing the property market carrying on moving that way. So maybe after the next election we might see the base rate go back up, but definitely for the time being I don't see anything changing anytime soon. Will, obviously you're working in Crowthorne, Sandhurst, Finch, a lot of 4-bedroom houses in that marketplace. Same as me, Warfield, Winkfield, and then a lot in Lower Early, as well as Winnish and Shinfield. All of our patches, there's a lot of 4-beds actually, family areas where we're working. One of the things in the house price index that was quite interesting to me is a massive imbalance in the 4-bed market. We're seeing 15% less 4-bedrooms come to the market compared to 2019 again, and a 39% increase in sales of 4-beds. Not even demand, sales are up nearly 40%. Now that's crazy. So it goes back to the advice we were giving people before. But what are you seeing in general in Crowthorne, Sandhurst, Finch with 4-bed prices? Are you seeing a big change there, or is it just carried on from the stamp duty of 9 months ago, or are you seeing an incline?
To a degree, it's almost like nothing's changed with prices, because I think where it's sort of starting to cool off slightly in terms of new instructions coming on. People want 4-bedrooms. People want the garden space, those family homes. People are moving out of the bigger cities, as we know, to get this space that perhaps they've not had before. But it's one of those situations, isn't it? It will probably carry on. Prices will probably carry on, I suspect, in the short term, because the level of demand, or the level of properties that aren't coming to the market are meaning that when they do, and they're few and far between, there's obviously far more buyers than there is the property. So yeah, definitely 4-beds are going quickly. Prices are, I guess, like anything, they are good. Now's the time if you want to get that extra bit of money on your 4-bed, or any of it actually, put it on now, because there's loads of buyers.
Yeah, no, like it. So in summary, then there's a couple of things. If you're sat there not on the market, struggling to see anything you like, talk to your Avocado partner, spend a bit of time with them, invite them round, half an hour, 45 minutes of your time. They'll go out like homing beacons to try and find you that property and give you the jump on other people, which is great. I think in terms of what we're talking about from an investment point of view, if you're looking for buy-to-lets, reach out to me, speak to Tristan, speak to Mike Robson, and we can advise a lot on the buy-to-let options, because as Neil rightly said, it's almost free money in the mortgage world at the moment. It definitely is the cheapest borrowing that you can have. So why not take advantage of that and make some money? There's definitely no money being made in savings. And if people are actively looking at the moment, regular first-time buyers, maybe someone that's under offer with another agent, but you're not getting any joy with your agent you sold through, and you're really looking to try and find something new, make sure you're following our pages. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, because you will get the jump on the people looking on Rightmove and on Zoopla. And I think that's probably fair advice. Would you guys say, Neil?
Absolutely, yeah. I think we were talking about it again the other day, but just being prepared. We always say to people, just be prepared for your move. Don't go into it dipping your toes or anything like that. Start to get a feel for it by speaking to one of us. But if you're going to move, you commit to it. Be ready for it. Work out your numbers. We always say that. Work out your numbers. Get everything sat in front of you, and just be ready for it.
Good. Like that.
And well, like you said, Ian, as well, make sure, it sounds like a self-plug, but make sure you do follow those socials, because ultimately, a couple of those ones that we've sold prior to them hitting the market, a couple of the people sort of said, well, how did that happen? I sort of said, well, there's this thing called Beat the Portals, and so you got to follow our page. So, but it really does mean the world of difference to those people that are looking, because that explains how they're doing it.
And it's not like, I don't want the public to think that we're doing it because we're trying to gain followers. effectively, when we list a property or when a property is agreed to go to the market and the contract is signed, to get the photos taken, to get the house ready, to get them edited, to get the descriptions put, you know, in play, to create the video, edit the video, whether you're us as an estate agent or someone that's getting a photographer outsourced to do it. For us, we can get that turned around in 48 hours. Most estate agents take 5 working days at least to do that. What we're doing is just giving the client, the owner, the opportunity of instant marketing. So we're not doing it in a ploy to say you have to follow us to see it. We're doing it in a way of saying, look, this one's coming on. Here's a sneak peek. Check it out. And like you guys have both said, it works. It's successful. We've been doing it for over a year now. And get ahead of the curve, get ahead of the crowd, and take advantage of it. So it's hit 6:30. I knew I was going to enjoy this chat. I have done. It's half an hour that I've enjoyed. I think I can just about hear a 5-year-old kicking off that's ready for bed. So I'm going to throw. I'm going to go before
this chat.
I mean, at any moment she could break through this office door, and who knows what could happen. So yeah, if anyone's watching this and we're not live, keep the comments going, keep the questions going, drop us a DM. Obviously, we will upload this to YouTube as well. Share it if you're watching this and you think you've got family, friends, someone that's looking to move and they're going to benefit from the video. Tag them in. Make sure you go and check out Neil's page, because Neil and Dan are running an awesome competition at the moment. So jump on there. I think, is it an Asda £100 gift voucher for school uniform?
Absolutely, yeah. We've got back to school George voucher, yeah, 100 quid, little competition running at the minute. So nice one for good timing for it, I think.
Awesome. And Will and Mike, I think they've got one coming out towards the end of the month, so check that out as well. So yeah, enjoyed it. Have a cracking evening, everyone, and make sure you tag, comment, like, share, follow, and that's what we're here for.
Cheers.
Absolutely.